Yeah, culture is interesting thing. Culture, more than race. Culture, and that's what we should more focus on. Start focusing a bit more on that, and that's why I changed the census to better represent what it means when we try to figure out what kind of race is in the country, that we should really not focus on race. We should focus more on the cultural identity of people, because that's more aligning with who people are. Um, there's a lot of white people that don't identify with being white, so you can't say that they are. And there's many darker skin tone people that more align themselves with European values rather than African ones. And so you have to appropriately determine what it means, because this is not about race. This is not about skin tone. It's about cultural identity. Uh, of that, there is a specific race of Americans who come from a cultural identity that is born out of hate and ignorance from a time uh, that there was no place for it even then. But that's their main cultural identity. It's mental illness. It's not, this thing is not a race. And that's important for all of you to know this. It's not a race, it's a cultural identity. And all of you are the same thing. You're not races. You don't have race. There's no races. If you go to Africa, you're gonna find thousands of tribes. None of them are races. You have so many different countries in Africa and thousands of races. I mean, thousands of tribes, sorry. None of them are races. uh, they just belong to different families. They come from different places, different lands, different countries. But they they have the same cultural identity, and that's the main important focus, is cultural identity here also in America, because culture is more important than race. Culture. And what we find in the world just generally is people trying to abuse race to control people's cultural identity. We have no racial associations when it comes to how people culturally identify. And no one of any specific believed race gets to determine anybody's cultural identity. And that is more important when we want to talk about who people are in this country, not by their race. Because if the point of trying to figure out uh, where someone comes from and who they are, when you do any kind of survey and you want to find out somebody's background, it's more important to find out their cultural identity than where genetically you may believe their ethnicity is, because that doesn't matter. Someone's ethnicity does not matter more than their cultural identity. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Um, Because in the end of the day, ethnicity, and where you come from is has what who are you trying to say? Come on, like what are you really trying to say? America is a melting pot. The Caribbean is a melting pot. Africa at this point is a melting pot. China is becoming a melting pot. Europe, most of Europe are melting pots. So there's coming to a point where there's no place on earth that's not a melting pot for culture, for all different kinds of people existing. So it doesn't make sense. It never made sense, honestly. It never did make sense to try to uh, force people into uh, a cultural identity that has nothing to do with who they are, but has to do with how you want to label them uh, by race, by what you create in the form of what you say is their ethnicity and their race. And so you try to force them, so you got to be like this. You're this, so you have to be like this. And you're this, so you have to be like this. And you're this, so you have to be like this. No. No. Uh, um, no. So culture is more important. And at the time, the reason why this came about in this way was because so many people were ignorant. They're not very cultured. So they just don't know much about other cultural identities. And most of them were underdeveloped. Their identity were underdeveloped because they were uneducated, and much of their identity culturally was being tampered with or erased by religious practices. And and the point of doing that was always to control somebody by race. By race. Trying to control groups of people by their ethnicity. Because at the end of the day, when you force someone into a religious practice, that becomes their new cultural identity, and it doesn't have anything to do with who they are. It has to do more with who you are, right? This is what Europeans believed when they rediscovered the world. But before then, people were already practicing the oldest form of Christianity all over the world. All over the world. All over the world. It was already practicing Christianity. Uh, and they were practicing it in a way that was the proper cultural identity for it, that had nothing to do with uh, how other people wanted people to be. All right? It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with reality. That's what all spirituality has to do with, reality. So that's the Christianity people worshipped and practiced. Then these people came along and they tried to alter it to have to deal with uh, a false version of reality that they wanted to impose, just due to their laziness, basically, just due to their they just don't like the world that they were living in. They don't like it. They don't like that, the state of how things are for them. But don't you recognize that hasn't changed? You see how that doesn't change? Look, all of these, they get into power. They were already in power. They say, "Oh, yeah, you were in power for 4 years with Trump before now." Then you got an extended power in Biden, where that was yours. It's not like Obama or something. We Obama's one of ours. Obama's one of ours. Biden is one of yours. That's not our thing. That's your thing. That's what that is. So you got Trump and you got Biden. And then when it came to me, when I was supposed to be in office, you do what you do. Uh, you try to prevent what the people decide. And what do you choose when it comes down to it? Do you choose a black person? Do you choose? No, see, you don't. You don't. You say if we have to choose between two, we choose to continue extending in this direction. But it didn't matter who you chose. You wanted someone to be there who would facilitate the direction you want things to be going in. And that's the problem here. Because that have nothing this has nothing to do with what you want. This has to do with preventing people from being and doing and living in reality. All right? And that's why this race thing needs to be eliminated. And more so we focus on cultural identity. Because it's so drastically changing all the time. And you know, there's a group of people that might identify with certain individuals, and they may build a culture around that. Okay? They do. And that has nothing to do with their race. Okay? And this is important because there should be no pressure upon any group of individuals who happen to share a certain kind of aspect to themselves that's associated with what is believed to be certain races. There should be no association to that and what people have as a cultural identity. Okay? This has always been the issue in this country and just all over it's not just for the country, but for the whole world has this issue. Whole world has this issue. And that's what racism is prejudice, is seeing somebody for their skin and then saying, you're this kind of a person. Well, who's deciding these things? Who's deciding what that kind of a person is? It will always be people that are associating with things that have nothing to do with what an individual of that association has to do with. And they will always be the ones deciding it. And so that needs to come to an end. All right? I'm a unique individual. My skin tone have nothing to do with me, predominantly, apart from shared cultural stress and trauma that everyone goes through that. Even then, it's not a unique thing to my skin tone. Everyone goes through it. You know, everyone. There's a culture of that just in the world, generally. So it's not a unique experience, even to my skin. Anyone trying to make skin tone a unique experience for the sake of cultural identification, is just trying to control people through prejudice. Okay, that's what they try to do: control people through prejudice. We have no association just because of our skin color. There's no association, and it's better to recognize people for their cultural identity than it is to try to falsely conflate people's association due to their skin tone and ethnicity, which you consider to have to do with their race. Their race. All right? No such thing. A Chinese person can be born in Africa as an African. You can't then turn around and say he's Asian. He's African person. He have more African in him genetically than Asian. And that's just the reality. So, but that doesn't even matter. But that doesn't even matter though, because if he culturally identifies with being Asian, then even if he's African, it doesn't matter. What matters is his cultural identity, not his race. So that's what we have to change things in the country from racial identification to cultural identity. All right? Cultural identity. You said, but what does it mean, cultural? What is isn't cultural identity racial anyhow? No, no. And the reason why is because of history. Culture is a historical thing. And that's why so many of you are confused when it comes to me. I'm a historical figure. Many people that are out here talking, that you see making videos and doing stuff that are celebrities, are cultural, historical figure. And that's what's confusing you about what they say and what they do when you look at them and you talk about them then you bring up their race or something else. The reason why it's confusing is because they're historic figures that you're talking about, which shape culture. All right, that's the reason it's confusing. So then, if you were to talk about my race, you're not talking about my race. You're talking about you're talking about you're talking about the history of of all peoples. You're talking about all people history when you're talking about me. You understand? And it's not going to change just because you're doing it right now. Just because you're talking about it now, it won't change if you talk about it later. It's still the same thing. It's still the same history of all the people that you're talking about when you talk about a historic figure. You see? And that's what shapes culture, cultural identity. This is what shapes cultural identity. And what that cultural identity is tied to is what it is. And here's where some race gets involved because because where that identity is shaped from is history. So when I show you the African diaspora as a cultural identity, that's because historically all that we have from people of this skin tone is culturally shaped historically from the African diaspora. And for the Europeans who live in America, all of their history is shaped by European culture as an identity. So that's why it's that way for them. And for Asian, for all the other cultural identities, it's what it is. and it's distinctly separate and different from uh, other identities, because all of these things are very recent. And that's the main reason why. All of what I'm telling you is very recent. And you could say, you might even say, well, what's preventing someone from having uh, more than just one cultural identity? More as in, I'm African, I have an African, I'm part of African diaspora, and I identify with that culture, but I also identify with European culture too. I also identify with this culture, and I also identify with that culture. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about not just that. We're talking about what makes you who you are. And when you ask that question, yeah, you have to be more honest about what makes you who you are. And a lot of you are gonna say, in America, African culture, African diaspora's cultures is what makes America what it is. And there's no argument about it. There's no argument. I cannot say America has its own cultural identity though. You understand? I can't say that. I have to say that the African diaspora has created the most of Americans' culture and most of what Americans identify with as their culture. But there's more to it. Of course, there's more different identities. There's European culture, there's Asian culture, there's what this racist racial prejudice of a culture, which is these kind of white kind of people come from. There's that too. This sort of Puritanism. There's that. These behaviors are historic. They're relevant. They have an impact on the cultural identity of America, but they don't have any association to someone's skin tone. They have association to someone's personal identity. And if that's what you're trying to find out, better to know this than their ethnicity or what you believe they have relation to based on skin tone, because that's just racist. Find out what they culturally identify with, and that's what we're going to be using moving forward, because that is the accurate determination of the population, right? When we want to know who's who here, find out who they culturally identify with here, and then you'll know who's here. Not That's not skin tone. That's not skin tone. All right? That's not skin tone. That's not ethnicity. That's identity. That's how you know who's here. That's identification. And the majority of people here are African diaspora. They associate with African diaspora. That makes up the majority of American identity. Majority. Very high majority. Um, you know, and it's not becoming less so. It's becoming more so. Why am I talking about this? Because whenever issues crop up in the world, the main issue is always just this same one. And it's false association due to skin tone, which has always been an issue. It's not a new issue, honestly. It's people doing wrong things with association to other people so that they don't look good, so that they do. That's it. This has been going on for a very long time. And so when you all recognize, because the main reason it has an impact is because you all allow it. You all allow for racial association. tonal association. It must come to the point, like Selassie says, Selassie, Ali Selassie, that you all should be able to see yourselves no different than anyone else based on skin tone. This is another individual. It has to come to that point that the only difference between what you see from one person and another person is no different than seeing different color eyes or something. It has to come to that point. Because as it is today, that's not what you see. You see somebody with brown eyes, and you say, all you brown-eyed people. Isn't that disturbing? You see someone with blue eyes, say, oh, you blue eyes, you know. That's the equivalent. It's the equivalent to what you all are doing. Say, I knew someone with green eyes before, and they did some crazy shit. You just like that, aren't you? It's crazy. It is insane that y'all are doing that. Insane. Insane that y'all do that. We have no goddamn relation. None, apart from our cultural identity, which is diasporic, and it's not controlled by anyone's skin tone. All right? That's important. Because we can't continue to allow people to feel they could control who other people are just by being hateful, just by being prejudiced, just by being judgmental, just by being disrespectful. Do you get to control who other people are? That's how we end up in. That's why these kinds of people who are irresponsible rely on allowing people like Trump to be in the positions they're in. They rely on that because to them they feel like we need something to control other people. You don't have control. You have to respect people. You don't have control. You have to respect people. You can't do the wrong thing. You understand? You can't do it. You're not safe. All right? There is no protection for any of you to do anything wrong. No matter what aspect of government or anything else that y'all is a part of, there's no protection for y'all to do wrong. None. So, otherwise, see, the reason why y'all want to be a part of that kind of thing is because you want protection, though. You want to be protected if you do the wrong thing. You don't want to have to be held responsible for that. You want to be covered. That's not the purpose for these things. Protection is not the purpose. We have all these government agencies. None of them is to protect anyone. You say, what? I thought all of it is to protect people. The people are already protected. Naturally. People are protected. Why? How? Because of pain. Because you see you have pain. Because you understand why you have You have natural instincts that come along with your body that protect you. People are naturally protected that way. So because of that, people are naturally protected. You don't we don't need anything to protect anything here in this country. Y'all is already, the people are protected, and the people protect the people. That's simple. People trying to get in the way of that is an issue. That's the main thing. People trying to get in the way of that. Because they don't want it to be that when they do the wrong thing, they have to suffer the consequence for it. That's all. Right? If you're going to be disrespectful, don't expect people to respect you for it. Just don't. There's no respect for disrespect. That's just how it is. You say, well, how come I'm not respected in the world? You never gonna be. Y'all never gonna be. Because you can't be respected for being disrespectful. There's nothing to respect. What can you respect? It's like y'all saying that you're vacant color. You have no color. You say you're vacant color. Then you're saying, well, you have to respect my color. You don't have no color. You vacant color. You don't have no color. It's not something could be respected. You understand? This is not a new thing. There's always been this way. Y'all can't be respected for what you don't have. If you don't have any goddamn respect, there's nothing to respect. You see? So people can respect you for the respectful things that you do. But apart from that, there's no respect for you. That's it. So all the time when you hear anyone speak positively about these disrespectful people, it will only be out of respect for the things they do that are respectable. And that is it. And these things that I'm talking about have nothing to do with who they are. It have to do with just having respect generally. Because respect is respectable. But who you are is determined by how you behave. What things are is a separate thing. And there should be no conflation or no associate. Don't try to falsely conflate or associate to just what things are. Having respect for things is a respectful thing. And people can respect that. That doesn't have anything to do with you unless that's who you are. All right? And the problem with all of you is that's not who you are. It's just how you want to, that's what you want to associate with. That's just what you want to associate with so that you could be respected, so you could do the wrong goddamn shit, so you could disrespect other motherfucking people. And that is going to come to an end. It's going to come to a complete end. And that's what I was saying about Russia. What did I say? I said Russia need to be respected. Remember that I said that? I said Russia need to be respected. But Russia also need to understand that when we was respecting you, you had no respect for us. You had no respect. Now you want to be respected. You see? But it's too late. Look what you did. Look what you did. Were you supposed to forget what the fuck you did? Hold that. I'm America have to hold the shit we do. Everything we do, you have to say, oh, God, this fucked up shit. But we did that shit. God damn, fuck. Shit. And we got to deal with that. You hold your shit. Don't drop it off here. Don't drop it off on other countries. Hold your fucking shit. That's you. That's what the fuck you did. Don't drop it off, say that have something to do with Americans. Don't drop it off, say that have something to do with the people that you... No. That's a Russian thing. You did that. That's your issue. We can't respect you for that. It's like when China does something, humanitarian issue, we can't respect China for that. You got to do better. Don't then turn around and say, well, look what you got. No. Hold your shit. Hold your shit. Because we got to hold our shit. We got to hold our shit. We got to deal with our shit. If we going to look bad, don't forget how the fuck you look. Don't try to weigh it. Don't try to weigh it, make yourself look good now. Bad just look bad. Bad just look bad. It don't look good. All right? And we dealing with our shit, don't make you look good. Deal with your shit. It don't look good. All right? Because that's the only way y'all going to get respect. Y'all deal with your shit. All right. This whole racial thing, a lot of the rest of the world is confused because they don't live in America. They don't have the American mentality. They don't think the same way as Americans do because they're not from our culture. They have a different culture, and that's what they identify with because that's where they come from. So they have less of a racial issues in their countries. Just for that, America is one of the main places with all this racial issue. And y'all will be so shocked when you go to another country and you see how much they don't have the same issues. You will be really shocked about it. They do have some similar issues. Not to say it's all gone. But the issues they have is derivative. They're derived issues from issues that we're currently dealing with in America. It's not actual real ones. You understand? It's just similar. It's a similar issue from Western aligned people in foreign nations that bring along those issues there. But apart from that, they just don't have any issue whatsoever because they come from a different identity, cultural identity, that have nothing to do with their race. It just have to do with where they come from. So why would they have an issue? They all from the same culture. What's the issue? See, no issue. No issue. Racially, no issue. So there you have it. That's the problem. It's the problem for all of you. You go to Australia, you're gonna see a bunch of Aussies. You're not gonna see, oh, look at this black person. Look at this, oh my God, this black person. They're all Australian. They're all Australian. You know, they have Australian identity. But you go to America, oh, there's an Aussie over there. You see? That's not the same as this Irishman, though. Or he's not the same as the Italian over there. He's not the same as this person or that person or that person. These are different people. In America, they have a lot of different people. A lot of different identities. It's not about race, though. It's not about race. Okay.